Since the play-in tournament was introduced in 2021, I feel like the reception has been mostly mixed. Personally, I like it. It makes the last month of the regular season matter so much more than it previously did. The Warriors-Clippers season finale might have been the game of the year, proof of why I think the play-in has been a success. But don't get it twisted, it's not perfect. Tanking was still running rampant for nearly a third of the league. Mediocre teams who normally would have never sniffed the playoffs are given another chance. The Grizzlies have had a tumultuous season for sure, but there shouldn't be a scenario where a team finishing 9 games better than another is now fighting for their playoff lives in a winner-take-all situation. As you'll see here soon, this year, it didn't happen. But there will be a year in the future where a team who deserves to make it, who had a playoff-worthy regular season, will be ousted by a lesser team who didn't. That's just how single elimination works. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Chaos, baby. I'm here for it. And so is the NBA. Another year, another season being eliminated by the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament for the Chicago Bulls. The Zach LaVine era was mercifully put down when he was traded away in February. A 3-team deal where the Bulls arguably gave away the best player, but definitely got the worst return. And stop me if you've heard this before, a team in Chicago headlined by 2 all-offense, no-defense guards, with Nikola Vucevic in the middle. The Zach LaVine era may be over, but its spirit lives on. This year, the Bulls played with pace, were fun to watch, and down the stretch, Josh Giddey and Kobe White were playing excellent basketball. And yeah, that can win you games for stretches in the regular season, but when the games matter, the physicality goes up, and the opponent quality improves, it isn't sustainable. Giddey is a restricted free agent this summer, and the Bulls have a decision to make. I believe he can be part of a winning team, but if he's your first or second best player, sign the Bulls up for another play-in tournament appearance in 2026. Wait, I just talked about the Chicago Bulls, right? Light the Beam feels like a lifetime ago. The star player of that team was traded away. The coach of that team was unceremoniously fired. The GM in that team mutually agreed to part ways. But unfortunately, this guy remains, and will remain for the foreseeable future. The one unsolvable problem for Sacramento and their fans. Vivek Ranadive purchased the Kings in 2013 and saved basketball in Sacramento, something he should absolutely get credit for. But other than 2022, under his ownership, it's been a litany of comedic errors and suffering. Don't worry, Kings fans, I won't go over all of them here. I'm sure you've heard them all many times over.
Stauskas for me, Stauskas. You ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Nick rocks!
I feel for you, Sacramento. I really do. You're near the top of my personal list of fan bases that deserve a team worth rooting for. Unrelated, here's a picture of the Wikipedia page for Stockholm Syndrome. How much longer should the Hawks stay in the Trae Young business? Young was far from the reason the Hawks lost to the Heat and were eliminated from the play-in, but we're far enough into the Trae Young experience to know exactly what to expect. Young is an offense onto himself. He's a pick-and-roll maestro, a brilliant passer, elite at getting to the line, and one of the league's most clutch shot makers. Yeah, the shot selection and efficiency could be better, but there is enough evidence that when Trae Young is the main fulcrum of your offense, your team is probably near top 10 in the league. Except this year. But honestly, that wasn't entirely his fault, due to the numerous injuries, but I'll get there. Defensively, Civ isn't a strong enough word to describe him. When Trae Young is a part of your defense, your team is most certainly near the bottom half of the league. And when your season is on the line, and you give up at least 120 points to the Magic and Heat, yeah, your defense is a glaring problem. But again, the Hawks know this. They're familiar with his game. That's why over the past few years, they've tried to surround him with players with length and size in order to make up for his defensive deficiencies, with mixed results. Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, DeJounte Murray, Dyson Daniels. Which brings me to Jalen Johnson. Johnson unfortunately only played 36 games this season after a torn labrum in his shoulder. On the bright side, he looked like a future star in those 36 games. So if you're the Hawks, do you chalk this year up to injuries and run it back? Or do you do a mini reset, trade Young while his value around the league is still high, and build around your young wings Johnson, first overall pick Zachary Richeche, along with all the other assets you would acquire? What would I do? I honestly don't know. Young's style of play isn't my favorite, but with Johnson back in the fold next year, a leap from Richeche, and more minutes for one of my favorite role players in the league, Onyeka Okongwu, the Hawks could be heard from next year. To his credit, Young did take little steps in playing off the ball this year, although he's still one of the highest usage rate players in the league. But there's another world where keeping Young and his ball-dominant style stunts their offensive growth, while the defense remains putrid, with no way to improvement. I mean, they have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on the roster, and still finished in the bottom half of the league. A Trae Young decision doesn't have to happen this summer, but I'm really interested to see how it all plays out. At this point, the city of Dallas, as well as the whole basketball world, knows how the Mavericks season went. So for the rest of this segment, I'll try not to mention he who must not be named, as well as the boy who lived in Dallas, who was backstabbed and traded, only to return and drop 45 points in his homecoming, as chants of fire filled the arena 4 seconds into the game. So instead, let's focus on the future, because what was once a wide open championship window is now seemingly barely cracked open. Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and PJ Washington are here. So is Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Jason Kidd is still here as coach. But the one player whose future you should keep an eye on this summer? Kyrie Irving. Irving can, and most likely will, opt out of his contract this summer. And despite tearing his ACL and a return date deep into next season, he'll have plenty of leverage. I mean, what are you going to do if you're You traded away for a 32-year-old star power forward with a well-known injury history to pair him with a 33-year-old star point guard, who then unfortunately tore his ACL. Bad luck and out of your control for sure. But now you're in a situation where you have no plan B, a situation you put yourself in. And so now you have no choice but to pay Irving at top market value if he decides to play hardball, because you can't just let him walk out the door for nothing. Despite it all, there's enough here that the Mavs can be good next year. In the few, and I mean few, games Anthony Davis played, when he was on the court, the Mavericks had a defensive rating that would have been good for top 4 in the league. There are still competent basketball players here. It's a start. Championship contender though? The window might be cracked open, but I think it's slammed shut. My name is Kahai. Thanks for watching.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.